Hi everyone, welcome back to Betrayed. On the night of our anniversary, my wife chose to celebrate her ex-boyfriend's birthday instead. She stayed out all night and brushed off my concern as if I was being unreasonable. If this continues, we should just get a divorce, she said. In the past, those words would have scared me. I would have cried and apologized again and again. But this time, I calmly replied, "All right." She stood there, frozen, not expecting that response. When Lucy finally came home, cheerful and carefree, I was throwing untouched food into the trash. The previous night had been our wedding anniversary. She had earlier suggested that celebrating alone would be boring and recommended inviting friends instead. I took the day off from work to prepare, shopping for ingredients, cleaning the house, decorating the living room, and cooking a special meal. But I waited all night. No guests showed up. Not even my wife. It was only through social media that I found out where she had gone, Luca's birthday party. His birthday had already been celebrated just a month ago. In one of the pictures, Luca had a bit of cream on his nose. Someone, wearing a wedding ring identical to mine, was playfully pinching his cheek. The caption read, "Someone insists on celebrating my birthday on the 18th of every month. It's wonderful to feel so loved." Lucy glanced at the steak I had just thrown away. "If you can't cook well, don't waste food," she said. In the past, I might have argued with her, demanding to know why she left me alone on our anniversary to be with him. But now I felt no need to say anything. I simply continued cleaning up the remains of the night before. Suddenly, Lucy pointed to a takeout box she had brought home. "Nathan, I brought you some cake," she said. It was her usual way of dealing with things, bringing me food whenever she thought I was upset, assuming it would make everything better. I looked at the cake. It was leftover from Luca's party. Who packs birthday cake in a takeout box? "Have some, babe," she added, heading to the bathroom. "I'm going to shower." As she disappeared into the bathroom, I kept cleaning, throwing out the trash, and arranging the flowers on the table. Then, her phone lit up with a message. Lucy always put her phone on silent when she got home, a habit that no longer surprised me. The screen showed a message from Luca. "Lucy, you were so naughty last night. My waist still hurts." I stared at the screen, my grip tightening on the scissors in my hand. Lucy rushed out of the bathroom and snatched the phone from me. "You're always spying on me, Nathan," she snapped. The scissors slipped and cut my palm. Blood started dripping immediately. Lucy barely looked at me and muttered, "You're so careless." Then reluctantly she added, "Come on, I'll take you to the hospital." I didn't argue. The wound was deep and stung terribly. As we drove, I noticed something new in our car, two small dolls on the dashboard, a man and a woman locked in a kiss. The names Lucy and Luca were engraved on them. Seeing me look at them, Lucy quickly explained, "Luca thought the car looked too plain, so he gave me these as a gift." I pressed the gauze against my hand and replied calmly, "It's fine." I remembered how, when I placed a small figurine on the dashboard right after we bought the car, Lucy had thrown it out, saying it was impractical and distracting. Noticing that I wasn't reacting, she looked at me with a confused expression. "You're not angry?" she asked. "Why would I let it bother me?" I answered. I didn't care about her anymore, so why let her actions affect me? I looked straight ahead and said, "I need to catch up on the work I missed. Let's get to the hospital quickly." Lucy sped up when she noticed blood seeping through the gauze on my hand. Just before we reached the hospital, her phone rang. She glanced at me nervously, but when she saw my calm expression, she answered the call. "Baby, my back hurts so much I can't move. It must be from last night. You need to come help me." Although she didn't put the call on speaker, her voice was clear enough to hear. I turned to the window, pretending not to have heard anything. Lucy ended the call, pressed the gas pedal harder, and took a sharp right turn, heading straight to Luca's apartment. As we passed a pharmacy, she stopped the car, ran inside, and returned with a tube of massage cream. Then she drove directly to his place. When we arrived, Lucy got out quickly. "I just need to grab a document. I'll be back in 5 minutes," she said, locking the car. I stayed behind, feeling dizzier as the pain in my hand grew worse. Blood had soaked through the bandage. It spread fast. At some point, I passed out. Later, I found out that some passersby had found me, smashed the car window, called an ambulance, and got me to the hospital. That evening, Lucy finally returned home. I was quietly sipping porridge, pale and exhausted. "Where's my dinner?" she asked. She knew I was injured, but even then, she expected dinner to be ready. I had only ordered food for myself. I didn't even look up or check my phone. Lucy noticed the cake still sitting on the table, untouched. "You didn't eat the cake?" she asked. I replied weakly, "Maybe it went bad from sitting out too long." As if suddenly remembering something, Lucy pulled a small gift bag from her pocket. "Here's a new perfume." I finished the last spoonful of porridge, my lips pale and drained of color. "You can give it to someone else," I said flatly. "I'm allergic to perfume." Lucy froze. Early in our relationship, she had once given me perfume, and I had told her about my allergy back then. She had felt embarrassed at the time, but now, it seemed she had completely forgotten until this moment. I set down the bowl, picked up my phone, moved to the couch, and began watching funny videos, softly laughing. Noticing the bandage on my hand, Lucy finally seemed to recall my injury. She reached out, but I instinctively pulled back, accidentally knocking the perfume bottle to the floor. "Nathan," she said sharply, "all you had to do was wait a little longer in the car. Was that so hard? I didn't even complain about the window you broke." I remained calm. "How much is the repair?" "I'll pay," I replied. Lucy couldn't hide her sarcasm. "With the little money you make, what difference would it even make? You could never be as understanding as Luca. He's younger but way more mature." Lucy and I were both 30, while Luca had just finished college, 8 years younger than us. Age had become Lucy's favorite tool in arguments. In the past, I might have defended myself, but this time, I stayed calm and simply nodded. "You're right," I said. Noticing the time, I realized I had a meeting planned with a friend. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Lucy, assuming I was just making another dramatic exit, looked annoyed. "Nathan, now what?" she called after me. To my surprise, she followed me a few steps, a change from her usual cold attitude. But when I casually said, "Just heading home to pick something up," she stopped and didn't say another word, retreating back to her phone. In truth, I was meeting a friend to discuss my plans for divorce. While we talked, my phone buzzed with a message from Lucy. "Where are you?" I didn't reply. My friend, concerned, asked, "She never used to check in like this when you went out. Do you think she suspects you're considering divorce? Maybe she regrets it now." I replied calmly, "Even if she did regret it, would it really matter?" My friend nodded, understanding my decision. We spent hours going over the details of my choice. I returned home in the early hours of the morning and found Lucy lying on the couch. The TV was showing a basketball game, but her eyes were glued to her phone. She didn't even look up when I walked in. Without saying anything, I headed to the shower. After drying off and turning out the lights, I got into bed. Moments later, Lucy came into the room silently. She wrapped her arms around me and started touching me. I caught her hand and gently pushed it away. Annoyed, she turned on the light. "Didn't you say you wanted a baby?" she asked sharply. For years, whenever I brought up having children, Lucy always brushed it off. Now she was the one bringing it up, and I felt nothing. "I'm tired," I said, turning onto my side. "I have work tomorrow." Those words mirrored what she had often said to me in the past. Lucy frowned. "You're the one refusing now, so don't blame me later." She slammed the door and headed to the guest room. For the next few nights, she stayed there. This had become her usual tactic, sleeping separately to manipulate me into chasing after her. In the past, I would have stayed awake, restless, eventually giving in. But this time, I didn't react. I slept peacefully. It was Lucy who tossed and turned, often glancing toward our bedroom whenever she passed by. For over 2 weeks, I stayed calm and unmoved. One morning, when we both had the day off, Lucy approached me hesitantly. "I'm going out to buy breakfast." "What do you want?" "Pastries." "Sure," I replied simply, relieved she was leaving. But she didn't come back. That afternoon, while eating takeout, I scrolled through our alumni group chat. Mark, a classmate, had posted wedding photos. In every picture that included Lucy, Luca was clinging to her arm. They were both smiling, as if nothing else in the world mattered. Just then Lucy called. Her tone was bright, as if she had practiced her explanation. "Nathan, I went to get breakfast, and remembered Mark's wedding was today. One of the bridesmaids canceled at the last minute, so they asked me to step in. I was actually planning to bring you along." I nodded silently, even though she couldn't see me. "Well, congratulations to him," I said. "Aren't you angry?" she asked cautiously. "Why should I be?" There was a long pause. So long. I thought the call had dropped. Just as I was about to hang up, her voice finally broke the silence. "Nathan, I know things have been tense between us lately, but can we talk when I get home?" I didn't answer right away. I let the silence stretch. "We'll see," I finally said. "I'm just heading out," I said casually and hung up without waiting for her reply. That evening, Lucy came home earlier than usual. She paused at the doorway, her usual confidence replaced by hesitation. In her hands was a bouquet of flowers, a gesture that felt more like a performance than something heartfelt. "These are for you," she said awkwardly, holding them out. "I know I've been distant. I want to make things better." I accepted the flowers silently and placed them on the table. The silence between us was heavy. Lucy shifted uncomfortably, waiting for me to say something. "Nathan," she began, "I've been thinking about us. I want to fix things. I know I've made mistakes, but I still love you." I looked at her. This woman who once made me feel cherished now felt like a stranger. Her words didn't sound genuine. They lacked the sincerity I needed. "Lucy," I said, keeping my voice steady, "do you love me, or do you just hate the idea of losing control?" Her eyes widened slightly. I could see the thoughts racing through her mind. She opened her mouth to speak, but I raised a hand to stop her. "I've spent years trying everything to make this marriage work," I continued. "But love isn't about keeping score or playing games. It's about respect, trust, and partnership. Can you honestly say we have that?" She said nothing. Her eyes dropped to the floor. "I deserve more than this," I said firmly. "And honestly, so do you. But we won't find it together." My words hit her like a wave. She looked up at me, her expression filled with disbelief and desperation. "You're leaving me?" she asked. "I'm choosing myself," I replied. For the first time in years, I felt clarity. There was no anger, no doubt, just a quiet certainty that I was finally doing what was right for me. Lucy sat heavily on the couch, staring off into space. She didn't argue or try to stop me. I took that as my cue to leave the room. In the bedroom, I packed a small suitcase. The process felt strange, almost unreal, but at the same time, it was freeing. I wasn't running away. I was taking back my life. When I came out with my bag, Lucy was still sitting silently in the living room. "I'll be staying at a hotel for now," I said calmly. "We can talk about the details later." As I reached the door, she finally spoke. "Nathan, I didn't realize how much I was losing until now." I paused but didn't turn around. "Sometimes we only understand what we had once it's gone," I said softly, then stepped outside, closing the door behind me. The night air was cool and refreshing. For the first time in years, I felt free. My path was unclear, but it was mine. The story wasn't over. My life was just beginning. As I walked into the quiet night, a strange sense of calm washed over me. The city lights blurred in the distance, but my thoughts were clearer than they'd been in a long time. I didn't know exactly where I was headed, but for once, it didn't matter. Each step away from that house felt like a step toward reclaiming who I was. I booked a room at a small, simple hotel just a few blocks away. It wasn't fancy, but it was quiet, clean, and most importantly, it was mine. The receptionist gave me the key with a kind smile, grounding me in a moment that still felt surreal. The room was modest, just a bed, a desk, and a window overlooking the city. I dropped my bag and sat on the bed, letting the weight of the day catch up to me. I was exhausted, but my mind was already reaching toward the future. The next morning, Sunlight slipped through the thin curtains, waking me earlier than expected. My phone buzzed repeatedly on the nightstand, calls and messages piling up. Missed calls from Lucy. Messages from mutual friends. Even her family had reached out. Most of them asked me to talk things through or give her another chance. I silenced the phone without reading a single message. Instead, I made a list, something I hadn't done in years. I focused only on what I wanted, what I needed. The first item was simple. 1. Meet with a lawyer. 2. Find a new place to live. 3. Rebuild, step by step. Without overthinking it, I called the number my friend had given me when we talked about divorce. The lawyer's assistant answered right away, and within minutes, I had an appointment booked for the following week. It was just a small step, but it felt huge. Later that day, I visited a cafe I used to frequent before life became so heavy. The scent of fresh coffee, the gentle hum of conversation, and the soft clink of mugs, it brought a strange comfort. I ordered my usual drink and found a seat by the window. I let the moment ground me. As I sipped my coffee, a voice broke through my thoughts. "Nathan? Is that you?" I looked up to see a familiar face. Megan, an old friend from college, stood smiling. Her warmth was a welcome surprise. "Wow, it's been ages," she said, sliding into the chair across from me without hesitation. "How have you been?" For a moment, I hesitated. How do you sum up years of heartbreak, disappointment, and the decision to finally walk away? But Megan's kind eyes made it easy to be honest. "I'm starting over," I said simply. The words felt heavy, but somehow freeing. Her expression softened. She reached across the table and gently squeezed my hand. "Starting over can be scary," she said, "but sometimes it's the best thing you'll ever do. If you need anything, someone to talk to, or just help with anything, I'm here." Her sincerity touched me deeply. "Thank you, Megan. I mean it." That evening, back in the hotel room, I finally let myself reflect on everything. Lucy's face came to mind, not with sadness or longing, but with curiosity. How would she react when she realized I wasn't coming back this time? Would she try to fight for me? Or had she already let go? A notification pulled me from my thoughts. It was an email from the lawyer's office confirming my upcoming appointment. Attached was a list of documents I needed to gather, joint financial records, and accounts Lucy had always handled. I frowned, realizing this wasn't just going to be an emotional journey. It would also be a complex, logistical one. This wasn't just about leaving, it was about taking back everything I once believed I couldn't handle alone. 2 days later, while organizing paperwork, a message popped up from an unknown number. "Nathan, I know you've left. I don't blame you, but there's something you should know. Call me when you're ready." No name, but the tone was urgent, almost cryptic. Against my better judgment, I called. A deep, unfamiliar voice answered on the first ring. "I wasn't sure you'd call," the man said. "My name is Adam. I think we need to talk about Lucy." My pulse quickened. "What about her?" Adam hesitated, then spoke with calm seriousness. "There are things you don't know. Things that could change everything." The air around me felt cold. "What kind of things?" I asked. "Not over the phone," he replied. "Can we meet tomorrow? You deserve to know the truth." Curiosity and unease twisted in my chest. But I agreed. Whatever it was, I needed to hear it. This wasn't just about moving on anymore, it was about understanding the past. The next day, I met Adam at a quiet cafe downtown. He was tall, composed, and had a seriousness about him that made me sit up straighter. "Nathan," he began, voice low but steady, "you deserve to know what's been happening behind the scenes." He took a breath. "I was once in your position. Lucy has patterns she repeats with people like Luca and others before him." I leaned in, every nerve alert. "What do you mean?" Adam pulled out a small folder and slid it across the table. Inside were photographs, emails, and documents. Proof. What I saw wasn't just about cheating. It was financial manipulation, emotional exploitation, a trail of broken promises left for others who had once been in love with her, just like I had been. "She goes after men who trust too easily, who give too much," Adam said. She creates the illusion of being the perfect partner, but behind the scenes, she's chasing the next thrill, the next conquest. Luca isn't special, he's just the latest. The weight of his words hit me as I flipped through the pages. Piece by piece, it all made sense. Everything clicked into place. Why are you telling me this? I asked, keeping my voice steady, even though my insides were spinning. Adam looked at me with a quiet strength. Because I've seen her destroy too many lives. I couldn't help the others, but I can help you. And if you're willing, you can stop her from doing it again. Back at the hotel that evening, I felt a clarity I hadn't felt in years. For so long, I let Lucy define my worth, my decisions, my life. But not anymore. Adam's truth wasn't just about Lucy. It was about me reclaiming my power. I opened my laptop and started drafting an email to her. It wasn't angry. It wasn't emotional. It was precise. I laid out the terms of the divorce, the division of assets, my firm decision to move forward. I attached scanned copies of the documents Adam had given me, making it clear that I was no longer the naive man she thought she could manipulate. I ended the message simply. This is the last time you'll hear from me directly. My lawyer will handle the rest. As I hit send, I felt an overwhelming sense of freedom. I wasn't leaving quietly, and I wasn't leaving broken. I was leaving on my terms. In the weeks that followed, the fallout was exactly what I expected. Lucy tried everything: apologies, anger, even subtle threats. But I stood firm. With Adam's guidance and my lawyer's support, I handled the divorce with a strength I didn't know I had. Meanwhile, Luca's world began to unravel too. The truth about Lucy spread quickly. Their perfect romance? Shattered. He even reached out to me once, asking how I had lived with it for so long. I didn't respond. That chapter was closed. Months later, I stood on the balcony of my new apartment, watching the city below. The chaos of the past was gone. In its place was something simple and powerful: peace. I had a new job, reconnected with friends I had lost, and started rediscovering passions I had buried for years. As I sipped my coffee, my phone buzzed. A message from Megan, inviting me on a weekend getaway with some old friends. I smiled, realizing how far I had come, not just physically, but emotionally. Before going back inside, I looked out at the sunset. The city bathed in golden light. It felt like more than just evening. It felt like closure. A new chapter had begun, and the old one had finally faded into memory. For the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving. I was thriving. And that, I realized, was the most powerful ending of all. A life reclaimed, a spirit unbroken, and a future entirely my own.